Welcome to a special town council meeting for the town of Cave Creek, Arizona. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Any public announcements from council, Joe?
Hey, everybody, don't forget this Saturday, Harold's 40th anniversary, 2:00. Be there.
We will.
Okay, town manager report.
Well, council member kind of beat me to it, so I have none. That's what I was going to mention. But to add to that, our communications director will be sending an email off to the mayor and council that provides kind of the game plan, what Saturday is going to look like. We understand there's one or two of you that might be at separate tables, but we wanted to let you know, generally the time that starts, what you can expect once you're there, which tables will be part of the town's tables that we have reserved for this event. So anyways, looking forward to seeing you on Saturday.
And I understand that the festivities or the recognitions and singing speeches are, well, not much, but at 3:00, is that so?
That's correct. So it's important at least to get there a little bit before that so you could be there. And our own mayor will be doing a welcome address and acknowledging people there.
Okay, thank you. Call to the public.
I have none.
Okay, proclamations. Proclamation for the 40th anniversary of incorporation, July 8th, 2026. Whereas Cave Creek is a community that celebrates heritage and acknowledges that the history and culture of our town have been significantly influenced by the Hohokam, other Native Americans, ranching, mining, and whereas Cave Creek, founded in 1870, began as a mining and ranching community, served as a vital stop for the U.S. Cavalry, and chose to incorporate on July 8th, 1986. To safeguard its distinctive way of life and ensure that decisions impacting the town would be made locally. And whereas today the town proudly showcases its Western heritage, maintaining its Old West appearance and charm, while offering boutique shopping, art galleries, unique restaurants, and vibrant nightlife, the famous Cave Creek Rodeo Days, Turquoise Circuit Finals Rodeo, and is a destination for some of the most remote and rugged hiking in the Phoenix metro area. And whereas Cave Creek residents proudly refer to themselves as Creekers, a vibrant and diverse community of artists, writers, cowboys, retirees, snowbirds, and working professionals. And whereas the town of Cave Creek gratefully acknowledges the tremendous contributions of those residents who worked tirelessly to unite the community and to secure the vote for incorporation 40 years ago. Now, therefore, I, Robert Morris, Mayor of Cave Creek, Arizona, do hereby proclaim June 27th, 2026 as the kickoff to our 40th anniversary celebration with a party at Harold's Corral. The 40th anniversary will be recognized till the end of the year 2026. The town urges all residents to honor our shared heritage, look forward to a bright future, and continue to protect the unique spirit of this beautiful community whose motto is "Where the Wild West Lives." So, well written.
Very nice.
Yes, and Cynthia, you were you on the original committee?
I was on one of the review committees when the town incorporated on land.
Okay, so she was just a baby back then. All right, on the consent agenda tonight is the council discussion possible approval of resolution number 2026-13, calling the 2026 general election and authorizing the town clerk to conduct the November 3rd, 2026 general election.
Second.
Any comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I wonder if we'd have voted no, what would happen? Anyway.
It'd be empty up here.
On the regular agenda is council discussion, possible adoption of resolution number 2026-12, approving an intergovernmental agreement between the town of Cave Creek and the city of Peoria for the exchange of water storage credits. Staff?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I thought I was going to sit in Bill's chair, but I have to control it from over here. So I thought that would make me smarter, but I don't get that luxury. Before we start tonight, I want to say a couple thank yous to some people who aren't here and some people who actually are here. So this agreement's been in the works for a couple of years now. So Brad Hillman, Michelle Van Clausen from the town have been very instrumental in our consultant teams to get this across the finish line for us. But tonight we actually have Kevin Burke, the deputy city manager from the city of Peoria, is actually.
Kevin, please stand up.
So.
Yay, Kevin.
And it took a whole team over in Peoria. We had David Burks, who's a water services director, who's involved, Melinda Winnington, their water resource advisor, and like a good water agreement. We actually started with Brett Fleck, but he actually moved on. So it's it's a good agreement when someone's actually moved on during the course of it, because it's taken that long to get done. Again, it's over 2 years of work to get to this point. And I want to walk you through why I think this is so important, especially after we had our water workshop last week. We're expecting cuts to the Colorado River. They're coming. They're not expecting, they're coming. So the town needs to figure out a solution to continue to get our water resources, continuing to provide our customers with water. We've been playing around at 25% or 20 to 25% cut, but that actually gets us to the point where we just have enough water to meet our current customer demands. That makes us very nervous as a water professionals, because we want to make sure we can provide water to our customers. So we've been talking a lot about short-term bridge solutions. So that started with, in 2021, the town started recharging a portion of our unused CAP allocations. We have our municipal and industrial subcontracts, and we have a few years ago, we were able to secure the non-eating agriculture, or NAA water. That gave us additional water resources to over and above what we needed to provide our customers, and put that into the ground. It took some time to get the permits in place. We actually have permits in place with Central Arizona Project and with City of Phoenix to recharge. We've been utilizing some recharge facilities that the Central Arizona Project has. And what is recharging? It's basically putting that water into the ground, so put it back into the aquifer and storing it there that you can draw it off. And there's multiple ways that can be done. There's shallow Veda zone wells, you can do spreading basins, or you can do injection wells. In the case of the CAP, they use the spreading basin opportunity. So by the end of this year, going into the pending cuts, we think we'll have about 3,200 acre feet of long-term stored credits. So that's a checking account or savings account for the town to utilize. And just this is a presentation or slide that Brad had shown, but I think it's good for tonight. Where's our water stored? It's stored upstream of the town on the CAP canal. There's 2 red dots you'll see on there. The most westerly one is the Hieroglyphic Mountain, facility. That's about 163rd Avenue, north of Grand Avenue. It's in the city of Surprise. The one in question tonight for tonight's agreement is the Agua Fria facility. It's located along the Agua Fria River, close to Lake Pleasant Parkway, between Lake Pleasant Parkway and 303, just north of Happy Valley Road. And you can see the 2 facilities are shown there. They're managed by the Central Arizona Project, and they've been storing some of our unused CAP allocation for us for the rainy day, and the rainy day is coming. So the next question is, how do we get access to this water? Because having the storage credits is one thing, but actually physically getting access to it is actually the benefit to the town and to our customers. So we needed a partner. We obviously do not have water services out where our water is being recharged. We don't have wells out there. We could look to drill wells, put that into the CAP canal, but that actually has a whole litany of issues we'd have to deal with, water introduction rules, etc. So what we've come up with is actually a water exchange. So the basic foundation of that is that we would work with Peoria. We would exchange our water credits with them. So we have storage credits. They actually have the physical ability to withdraw that through their groundwater wells in their area. We give them our credits. They would exchange that water. And for exchanging that water and using the groundwater, our storage credits, not recovered water, they would allow some of their CAP allocation to continue on down the Cap Canal, and they don't utilize it when it comes to us. So now we can take it out either through our interconnect or our booster station site on the Cap Canal, or now with our arrangement with City of Phoenix, we'd have Phoenix treat and divert that and deliver that to us. So again, it sounds simple, but it's been over 2 years in progress to get to this point. Peoria's council approved it last week. You'll see on the signature pages, they haven't signed yet. They wanted us to sign. We wanted to have them sign first because there was some discussion. There might be some final amendments. So we had them look at it first. And then the agreements are going to help us mitigate our expected reductions. The next step after this is once we both sign, it actually has to go to the Central Arizona Project, and it actually be signed by their board. So it's not a done deal, but we're getting to the end. We think the last couple of steps are more administrative at that point. CAP is aware of what we're doing. Again, through over 2 years of conversation, we've involved many agencies in this. There's been several issues to overcome in that time frame, and one is you notice the facility. I mentioned that our water is stored in the Our Fria facility, again by Happy Valley Road. So why is the facility? Why does the agreement mention the Beardsley Water Reclamation Facility? Well, that's kind of a unique aspect. There's a unique rule in the Arizona law that in order to directly recover recharged water, you have to be within 1 mile of the recharge location. If you're more than 1 mile, then you actually have to show through modeling that you are creating enough of a mound that you can get access to that. In the case of the Our Fria facility, Peoria actually has some wells that actually they can utilize because they have enough water stored in there that they create the mound that they can withdraw it from. It's not practical for the town to put that in because actually we have to put, I think about 4,000 acre feet in the ground to actually create the mound that allow Peoria to withdraw it. So we went into this and came into that stumbling block saying, now what do we do? And I'll actually give credit to the governor's office. We actually reached out to the governor's office and they actually went to Arizona Department of Water Resources and staff said, how can we make this work? ADWR staff came with a unique arrangement. So Peoria actually has another recharge facility, which is located on Beardsley Road, which is their Beardsley Road Water Reclamation Facility. You know, our engineers, we love naming stuff after streets. It's 3.5 miles south of the Our Fria facility. So we're going to shift our credits down to the Beardsley facility, and within 1 mile of the Beardsley facility, Peoria has active wells. So that's why when you see the agreement, it says the Beardsley facility and the wells within the area of the Beardsley facility. That's why. So I'll give credit to the governor's office and to Arizona Department of Water Resource staff to come up with this arrangement. So again, in total, there's been more than 5 permits involved in doing this. We actually now have our own recovery wells permits in place with the 2 Peoria recovery wells that they're going to be utilizing in other agencies. So it's not something that just happened overnight. Again, it's and I'll give credit to Brad, who really spent a lot of time on getting us to this point. The mechanism, how's it going to work? So every year by September, we will place an order with Peoria and ask them if they can recover water on our behalf. We ask for, we're basically leaving 10% of the water there. What's the benefit to Peoria in this agreement? We're actually leaving a little bit of our storage credits there to help the local aquifer for Peoria. So that's we will provide them with 1.1 acre feet of storage credits for every 1 acre feet of cap water they exchange with us. That's typical in these exchange agreements. Actually, more what you see typically is something like 20 or 30%. So the fact that Peoria was willing to give us just a 1% because they just wanted, they're not trying to penalize us. They've been a huge partner, a great partner for this is great. They actually will charge us a recovery fee. What does the recovery fee provide? It actually provides, because they're going to running a well that they didn't have to run. They have their own surface water treatment plant, so they can actually take direct deliveries of Central Arizona Project water. So not having to run a well is something that, having to run a well to recover our water is something that they're going to give us a cost on. So the recovery fee has built into it the operational maintenance cost. They actually calculated, what's a well cost to run, electricity. They have a person drive by once a week, and they actually came up with a calculation. And they also looked at, because we're putting wear and tear on a well that they didn't have to use, we looked at it and they said, okay, a well for them costs so much money and it has a 30-year lifespan. So that all factored into the calculations. And that's the tables you'll see in the back. The first year, it's like $460 per acre foot. I'll talk to that a little bit later because that actually covers some other stuff, because actually in that money, they are actually buying they will actually order the Central Arizona Project water that comes to us. We don't have to pay the full cost of the Central Arizona Project water because part of that's built into the fee. So it's interesting. So we're not paying $460 per acre foot to recover water. And it's a little hard to explain, but let me go into that a little later. So we will still pay for the CAP water cost. Right now, the CAP, the capital cost on our CAP water is about 14% of the cost. 86% of our CAP water cost is actually a delivery fee. Right now, the way the arrangement is that in the water recovery fee that we pay to Peoria, they actually will pay that delivery fee. So for next year, that delivery fee is 326 acre feet. So we pay a little bit more to Peoria, 460 acre feet. So it's not costing us that much more to get access to our storage credits. So it's a huge thing. So it's not adding, it's something we have to watch for. We are hopeful we don't need to call on it next year, but in case it does, we'll build that into the budget. But it's not, this is very beneficial to the town, and the cost is, Peoria's been more than generous on this arrangement overall. So Peoria's duties on this, they will exchange up to they've agreed to exchange up to 450 acre feet a year. We'll give them 495 acre feet of storage credits, and they'll give us 480 feet of CAP water delivered to us. And it's, if they're able, and you'll see that on there, because again, why would they do this? Because they're trying to help us out. You know, we're in a municipal agency, and overall, everybody in the water resource world right now, because of the uncertainties with Colorado River, is we're all trying to help each other out. So when we started this conversation over 2 years ago, it was like, can you help us get this out? And they're agreeing to do that. But there might come a point, depending on how bad the cuts go, that they can't help us out. So the agreement does contemplate that. We're hopeful, but we have to be realistic that it could go bad. So they have to protect their citizens and their water customers. So if they can't, they can't. But we don't anticipate getting that, but it may have to. The agreement's for 7 years initially. That was what we all agreed to, but it is renewable. So as we move into this, you know, we're hopeful the first couple of years, depending on what happens. If you remember the last week's water presentation, or 2 weeks ago water presentation, when Natalie from the Central Luzerne Project spoke, they think that they could might be able to, with a 20% cut to the state's Colorado River water, might be able to do some maneuvering that it'd only be a 14% to us as a municipal industrial subcontractor. At that point, we don't need to call upon this, but if it goes deeper, we may. And then we're not sure if the first year cut, there'll be a second or third year cut. So this is something we need to have in place to allow us to have some more water security as we move forward. So just to wrap it all up, as I always speak too fast on this stuff, so I want to give you guys time for questions. And reductions are coming to the Colorado River. It's next month, the end of July is when we anticipate that the Bureau of Reclamation will do that announcement. So then we'll have an idea, and we'll keep council informed when that comes. We want to make sure that we have bridge solutions in place, like this exchange agreement, to allow us to weather that. So with the timing of this could potentially be available to us next year if we need to call upon it. We're hopeful that we don't need to in 2027 calendar year, but having it in place gives the town that stability. We've been looking at water resource and shortages for several years, you know, as we indicated in our workshop. And this is, again, something that we talked about. And again, it's taken us 2 years to come to this place to get to this bridge solution. The other unique thing about this this agreement is that the 450 acre feet a year actually allows us to work with Peoria, not only to exchange the water credits we've currently put into the ground in the Hour Free facility, but allows for, if the Arizona Water Banking Authority, who has been storing water for a number of years on behalf of municipal industrial subcontractors like ourselves, gives us credits, then we can actually exchange those credits through this agreement. So it gives us physical access to those credits, which we currently don't have a way of getting access to it. We are looking at another agreement, which will come forward to council in a few months with another agency. The city is surprised that they'd be willing to do a similar agreement with us. So this is the first, and this will lead into discussions that we have with the city of Surprise. We've had several years of talking with them also. Overall, you know, the town doesn't have one simple solution where I can say we're done, we're one and done, we're good, we're moving ahead. You know, the town has been so tied to our Central Arizona project allocations that it's really important that we have multiple things in place, and being able to access things like our storage credits is huge for the town. It gives us that bridge to find that next long-term solution. Where, again, I'm very hopeful we don't need to call upon this for a year or two, but having it in place is a safety net that this town needs to make sure that we can ensure reliable water services for our water customers. And we'll continue to work on all the other things that we've talked about in our water briefing on all the other practices of trying to secure town's water resources. So again, I just want to thank everybody who's been involved. Kevin's here tonight. He's willing to be at our meeting, which is great. It just shows the coordination and just everybody's willingness in the water industry to help us out. And I can't say enough about, you know, the Peoria staff who have helped us along this entire process and got us to this end point. So with that, I can answer any questions.
Question from council. Tom?
Well, first I want to welcome Kevin. We're very, very dependent upon our neighbors, and we really appreciate your being here and the role that Peoria has played. Sean, that aquifer, that storage facility, and I encourage people, if you're going down the 303, it's right there just off the 303C, the Peoria one. Now that's in the Agua Fria River, and the Agua Fria River has a slope to the south. Is the water that we're putting in there migrating to the south? And if so, do we know how quickly?
They've done some modeling. In fact, when you look at the facility, it's actually in the floodplain next to the river bottom itself. So the river bottom is actually east of the facility. So when it does rain, it's actually falling there. And it's interesting because the Agua Fria, because it's actually a couple miles south of the Cap Canal, there's actually the Agua Fria constructed facility, which is the canal that brings water down to that facility, and the Agua Fria managed facility, which is the recharge basin. So we actually store our credits in the recharge basin because the other one, you only get half your credits. But yeah, the way it's structured is that the Agua Fria does want to flow to the south. And that's where, again, where do you recover it? That's one of the nuances with the recovery laws is that, as long as you're within that 1 mile buffer, even north of there, and effectively the assumption is you're creating a mounding effect and you're withdrawing that water from it. In Peoria's case, they modeled it and showed that they have enough water there that it actually could reach their Peoria, their Restancia community wells, which are about 1.5 miles from that facility. It's just we couldn't create a mound with the amount of water that we have stored in that facility and allow them to do that. So if Peoria does move forward with actually drilling a well close to that facility, we might be able to look at that and move it. But shifting it down to the Beardsley facility, which is their water reclamation facility, which is 3.5 miles south of there, where they actually treat a substantial portion of their water resource wastewater system, that actually gets recharged at that facility directly. They actually have their own recharge facility down there. But yeah, it's kind of neat. It looks like it's in the river bottom, but actually the floodway is actually adjacent to the facility. They don't try to. There's been attempts to construct a floodway, but when a flood event does come, they get washed out, and you got to recreate the berms. And
So
all
that limits any downstream migration of the water. It would be less than it would be if it were right in the berm.
Yeah, that area of the Agua Fria is actually very gravelly bottom. There's a bunch of gravel pits in that area, so there's been a lot of gravel mining. So it does percolate fairly close. It's one of the struggles as us as an agency and even as statewide, everybody's trying to recover this groundwater. When you put it in and you put it in for years, it does move around on you. Where does it actually move to? And that's one of the things that the Central Arizona Project, as a recovery agent, has found out as they've been starting to look at recovering water on behalf of users. As where did the water go?
I have a second question, unless we want other people to have.
Yeah, I'll call you again.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you,
Cynthia?
Mayor. Sean, has the town already stored additional water credits for 2026, or do we have credits that will be stored before the end of the year, before cuts go into place?
Yeah, this year we'll have stored about 300 acre feet this year. In the last few years, we've been good, and that's when we had the NNI subcontract. We were actually able to store most of that. So in the years prior to this, we've been restoring close to 500-600 acre feet. This calendar year, we were not able to order any of the NAA water, which limited to us just to the excess M&I. So yeah, at the end of this year, we should have about 3,200 acre feet in credits. It's split between the two facilities. About 2/3 is actually in the hieroglyphics facility, 1/3 in the Peoria facility. And again, it shows the collaboration. Why do we have water even in the Agua Fria? Originally, we had focused on the hieroglyphics facility. And then one day, Brett Fleck called us up and said, hey, I've got 30 acre feet of extra storage capacity. You want to put some water in Agua Fria? And I said, yeah, okay. And that started the conversation. Oh, if we put more there, can we work out an agreement? And that was actually 2.5 years ago. That conversation occurred.
Can I make just a brief statement?
This is question time,
Okay.
but
I just wanted to say thank you, Sean, and the staff and everybody for your hard work. Obviously, this is paying off right now for the future. Hopefully, we don't have to use it. I would also like to recognize Vice Mayor Royer. She was the one that brought this to the table in 2018, and it was initiated in 2021. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you so much, Joe.
other questions down here, over here? Tom, go ahead.
My question goes back to some graphs that you showed. This says draft, but I think it's pretty much the graph that you showed in the water advisory, water information. And it shows that going into the future, we will be getting water from the state's water storage. Is that guaranteed?
Well, it's not guaranteed. That's the Arizona Water Banking Authority.
Right.
So as being a municipal and industrial subcontractor of Central Arizona Project, they have been recharging water on behalf of us, and we actually, as part of our fee, we pay into that. So they've been recharging for several decades, I believe. So they have close to 4 million acre feet of stored water. Their mandate is if there are cuts to Central Arizona, the state's Colorado River water supplies, their mandate is to actually allow that water to be recovered and brought back in and distribute those credits. The struggle we're having is that they don't want to distribute the credits right away, and they don't have a full mechanism. They understand what they need to do. They just haven't done it yet. So there's a lot of discussions, and I'll point out that our mayor and vice mayor and our staff have really been pushing that issue, saying, yeah, we really need to have a process. What is the process going to be? It's a little complicated, but they are working on that. And then the Central Arizona project themselves would actually be potentially be one of the recovery agents. So not having all those mechanisms in place, we had to go ahead. This exchange agreement is sort of a small version of what the state is going to be doing and allowing for recovery. These agreements allow for, as long as Peoria isn't going to impact their customer base, can actually recover some of that water. So if we get some of those credits, the Water Bank Authority does actually have storage credits in the Hour Free facility. So we'd ask to have them put in that facility. We do the transfer and have Peoria recover that for us. So, but the overall, it has not been outlaid what the state, the goal of the Water Banking Authority was to help keep water providers with municipal industrial subcontracts whole up to 20% cut in Colorado River water. That was sort of their mandate when they were put in place, I think 20 plus years ago. So, but all the mechanisms are now coming together. It's just not everything's all outlined. So we're a little ahead of the curve by having this agreement with Peoria.
And I like that last statement. All the mechanisms are coming together. That's essential.
In fact, we're the tip of the spear for recovery. Everybody from the governor's office on down in writing, DWR, Water Banking Authority, CAP, who else? We've talked to verbally and written letters to everybody saying we expect the water to be available if something happens to our supply. So, and I think some of the things you see them doing, I think, are in direct response to some of the pressure we put on it. Plus, we are giving TV interviews, interview requests, just about one a week, I think, isn't it, Bo?
Yeah.
Yeah, all over the country. So our issues are out there, and we spend a lot of time outside of town working this issue too. As you know, working with Peoria and other people, with Phoenix. Phoenix has been our great partner for some time. So.
Yeah, and I have a question. I understand that you and the vice mayor had numerous meetings with the Arizona Department of Water Resources, with others. How many meetings have you had on behalf of Cave Creek looking to other entities for water?
Well, I don't, we kind of, there's a lot of phone calls too.
Yeah, okay. Well,
You only need one meeting. After that, you can call them on the phone, but there's 4 or 5 agencies, and some of them multiple times.
Right.
and you two have worked hard. We appreciate it.
And state legislature,
Yeah, legislature.
capital.
Yep.
You've been very active in this effort. Appreciate it. We all do.
But there are no guarantees. That no one ever has ever guaranteed anything.
Thank you. Last week at the water meeting, you and Brad had indicated you were anticipating a cutback of 14 to 20%, which sounded very optimistic. Do you anticipate there'll be a need to deploy both the Peoria agreement, surprise agreement, and perhaps other additional ones at the same time? Do we have that kind of mechanism coming up in place? Should we have more severe cuts?
Great question. And that's one of our frustrations in the water industry right now is that we're waiting for the Bureau of Reclamation to announce what the cuts will be. What the state is currently planning for is a 20% cut. That seems to be the most realistic number. The 14% number is actually coming from the Central Arizona project that they believe through maneuvering some of their water resources that they have in their portfolio, that as a municipal and industrial subcontractor, it would only come down to 14%. Those are the two numbers that have been thrown out recently. And Natalie at the Central Arizona project mentioned that last week. So at 14%, we're in good shape. So we don't need to call on these, but we need these in place. What our fear is right now is the Bureau of Reclamation hasn't announced the first year cuts, and are there going to be subsequent year cuts? The health of the Colorado River is still in question. I think there was recently some storms, so that Lake Powell went up a little bit, but not significantly. But this is we're still talking about the structural issues of the Colorado River subcontract and the 7 basin states in Mexico and how that's going to be distributed moving forward. So I answer your question. There's no clear answer right now. Where I think the mayor's coined the term, we're in the maximum stage of uncertainty right now. So we're just trying to help get us the solutions in places like this bridge, like the exchange agreement, to allow us a mechanism to continue to provide water service to our citizens and our customers.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll put this in the form of a question. Is it true that Cave Creek will not run out of water? We have the ability to adapt in terms of how we think about water, how we use water, and that gives us a great deal of flexibility. Is that true? My question.
I work towards that every day, and my staff do. We have so many things in place, the exchange agreements, we've talked about doing things with the wells. We're working with an outside consultant to really help us hone in on our water conservation efforts, things like changing out the water meters to allow people to see what's going on. We work every day to try and minimize and usage of the water and wasting of water in the system. So to help us get to that point that, I don't know what the future holds. I wish I had that crystal ball. But, do we get to the point where we're not asking for voluntary restrictions, but we have to go to mandatory restrictions? I don't know how bad it'll get, and no one does. But that's why we put things in place like the drought management plan we adopted in 2022, and the following year we adjusted town code to give the council the authority to have that discussion. So as we find out and get more clarity, we'll be coming back to you and asking you what mechanisms do you want us to put in place. I just want to clarify that again. What's in town code is more of a check sheet of, depending on how bad it gets, these are the things we should be looking at. We have to come back to you as council and ask you to adopt resolutions to enforce those things and move us forward. I hope we don't get to mandatory. I hope that everybody can work together. I think it's been said several times that things like the water usage during the summer, outdoor water usage is a big thing for us. We use not quite double the amount of water in the summer as we do in the wintertime when we actually have more citizens here in the wintertime and we have more use in our restaurants. That's because of outdoor water use. So can we restrict that and have people cut back on that? We're in a good place where we don't have a lot of like outdoor landscaping, but how can we get people to cut back even more and help that out?
Taking over.
John, I got a quick question for you. Can you explain the levels of water where we get to an emergency eventually? It's like, what is it? Right now, we're probably level 1 or level 2, but I think if we get to like 3 or 4, it's dire.
Yeah, the way we defined it in the drought management plan, and I think Michelle and I have been talking about revising that. Level 0 is where we've got excess water available to recharge. Level 1 is that we would be the level where we don't have water to recharge. So effectively, by definition, we're in level 0. Level 1 is water watch, and then it goes down through, I forget the other 2 levels. Level 4 is the most extreme, where we see a shortage of over 26% in our water supply. So effectively, the calculation as we defined it, because we're so tied to our Central Arizona project allocation, is the available water based on our usage. We're currently providing about 2,000 acre feet to our customers of Central Arizona project water. There's a little bit of well water in Desert Hills. So it's if we don't have 2,000 acre feet of Central Arizona project water, that pushes us into a water watch through another emergency situation. So I think we should be actually out of stage 0, but by definition, we're in stage 0 because we actually are recharging this year. We have excess water. But we should be into a higher level. And that's where we're going to come back with council through the water conservation study we're doing right now with a consultant, come back in the fall with an amendment to that plan to better define that. Moving forward, it's about saving water and helping people do things like restrict outdoor water use, limit outdoor water use, things like the meters, which are helping people find leaks. We can help identify leaks more quickly, and we hope our citizens can also deal with leaks more quickly and things like that to reduce loss of water, which is something that'll help our system.
You've referred to the fact that in the summer, when population's actually down, we're using 70%, almost twice as much water. So is that a matter of outdoor irrigation that's needed in the hot weather if people are doing that kind of landscaping?
Yeah, that's what we believe. It's that, pools evaporate. So if you have a pool, we're not saying pools are bad, but you get evaporation off a pool. If you have landscaping, it needs more water in the summertime. If you have a horse property, if you're watering your horses and stuff like that, some assumption is they're going to use more water in the summertime. So, and that's typical. You'll see in a community. Those factors can go up to almost 2 in the jurisdictions I've been in. Actually, I worked in Peoria years ago and worked in Avondale. It was getting closer to 2, like 1.8, I think is what the peaking factor was in the summertime. But we believe it's mostly outdoor water use. One thing we can't say for sure is because when we meter to a customer, most of our customers have one water meter. So, can we say exactly where it's being used? No, but the assumption is it's going to outdoor water use.
The numbers speak.
Yeah.
Other questions, sir?
Have we ever thought about promoting rain harvesting? I know that's been brought up before. There's a few people in town that believe in that. I know we don't get a lot of rain, but it's potential for livestock and things like that.
I think everything factors into it. Rainwater harvesting, as you point out, it hasn't rained that much, but when it does, it's nice. You know, how much can you get out of that and keep the system running? I think it's going to be a combination of everything. Rainwater harvesting, I think at the water workshop someone brought about, there's systems that actually draw the water in the air actually draws that into it. But well, we think it's relatively human. It's actually not that human to have systems like that work, but everything will work. I don't think there's one solution for us. So if everybody works together, but if you have a rainwater harvesting system, you need to think about that. Is that water sitting there? Is it going stagnant? Are you using it? There's other things to consider too, but I think everything factors in. You know, there's gray water systems where you can use, things that don't have, the waste stream, like your toilet water, and use your sink water and other water to use that for outdoors. There's other things we can do in place too. It all just takes effort. And I don't think all that will help this community. You know, we only have 4,500 water customers. We don't have a lot of water customers. So if everybody pitches in, it'll help. It has an impact.
Okay, so with that, there's public comment on this.
I have no one.
I have none. Okay,
I'll make the motion.
okay, go ahead, Tom.
This is a adoption of resolution number 2026-12, approving an intergovernmental agreement between the town of Cave Creek and the city of Peoria for the exchange of water storage credits.
Second.
Catherine has a second, so Tom, you have the comment.
We will not run out of water. It's not going to happen, but people may have to cut back on water. People may have to rethink about how they're using water. Our house is on a little bit of a hill, and so we have rills that are around they're a part of our landscaping. And Joe talked about water harvesting, and I think that's a part of the water harvesting. So it's not actually going off of your land. Dusty, you had mentioned the
I have two
importance.
French drains on our property,
Two French
and
drains.
I'm putting more water in the ground than I'm using.
And that's water harvesting. Yeah, I believe. Yeah, so there are things that we can do, but we're not going to run out of water. Right? At one of the meetings, somebody said, well, do I have to sell my house in Cave Creek and move out? No, but we may have to rethink about how we're using water, because we can live on a lot less water. Our usage of water for my wife and me is about 3,000 gallons per month. The average user in Cave Creek is using, I think, about 11,000 gallons per month. So there's a lot that can be done.
Catherine?
I'd just like to say that, in 2018, when I was running on this issue, I knew that water banking was essential and important. 8 years later, it has become vital. It's life-saving potentially for this community, at least as a bridge for 3 to 5 years. So I'm so thankful to the staff and our consultants for pulling this all together, and the city of Peoria for being an amazing partner. We're very fortunate to have 3,200 acre feet at the end of this year banked. This is only 450, so we have some room to use it if we need it, and hopefully be able to get it when we need it. But it seems more likely now than it did even 60 days ago. So thank you, Sean, and all your team for putting this into place. It's more than appreciated by all of us.
Other comments? I'd like to add my thanks and compliment a job well done. Grady and Sean staff has done amazing on this. Brad Hill, of course, and Michelle Van Quathen were the key. And of course, Catherine got it all started because with 8 years, that's a long
8
time
years
now.
ago,
Yeah. And we also, about the same time we cut back on development, we didn't give meters out. Subdivisions had to bring water, all sorts of things like that. So there's been a lot of activity on water well before what we're doing tonight. Kevin, we'd sure like to thank you and thank you for being here. I'm going to call your mayor and thank him here after we get this all signed up. So we appreciate it. And the cooperation in the water community is amazing. Phoenix, golly, but not there, but AMWA, everybody is working hard on this. And I just wish the state government had the kind of cooperation that is there in the water community, because we'd lick this in no time. With that, we'll have our vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We're on to the last item, which is council discussion and second reading of ordinance 2026-03, amending section 31.25 of the town code, authorizing the town manager to designate one or more department heads as deputy town manager and establishing a new classification of deputy town manager for the town of Cave Creek personnel system.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to apologize because under reports from town manager, I was supposed to have an introduction made and I totally spaced over it with all the excitement of the meeting at the beginning. So if you don't mind, I would like to call Administrative Services Director up, Carla Reese, who will introduce our newest member of the staff.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd like to introduce Monique Harris. We stole her from ADOT as our new administrator. Come on up, Monique.
Hi, my name is Monique Harris. I was thankfully meeting you this earlier today, but I am on my 10th day here with the town. Very thankful that you took the opportunity to hire someone as a procurement administrator. As I was watching Sean, I just wanted to say how happy I am going to be a support system for the directors who did their job in procurement. So thank you for taking the chance and the opportunity to hire someone that's going to support your town. And yes, I did come from ADOT.
Welcome, Michelle.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Well, thank
It's
you.
Nice meeting you.
So back to agenda item number 2. So last week, as you recall, we had the first reading of ordinance 26-3. And this item proposes to create the ability for the town manager to designate a department head to serve as a deputy town manager, in addition to the current job duties that that particular department head has. It offers current and future town managers the ability to recognize outstanding department heads with additional management assignments and responsibilities, who may also have an interest in town management or pursuing careers in city or town management. I want to make it very clear, though, it's not adding another new dedicated town manager position. It's not adding an additional full-time equivalent to our existing positions. This is a really good opportunity. The first person that will be in this role is Sherry White. She's our Chief Financial Officer. I think she'll be great in this. Teresa has been, as you know, a twofer as well. She's been doing the deputy town manager / town clerk. She's been doing a fine job at that. This is just more of a professional development opportunity that I can extend to department directors. And it's the way that the code is written and the job description is that it's not while I'm here, it's for the future. So after I'm long gone, other managers will have this opportunity to tap talent and create opportunities for professional development of their department directors. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions? Okay, public comment.
I have none.
I have none. Okay, I'll make the motion, move to approve the second reading of ordinance number 2026-03, amending section 31.25 of town code, authorizing the town manager to designate one or more department heads as deputy town manager and establishing a new classification of deputy town manager for the town of Cave Creek personnel system.
Second.
Cynthia had the second. I'm in favor and I will vote yes. Cynthia?
Yes, it looks like a good policy change that will help with the development and stability of town staff.
There are comments from council?
Nothing other than you can't go anywhere, Grady.
Thank you.
Tom?
It's been my honor to work with staff for a number of years as a council member. They provide us information. It's not difficult being a council member if you make adequate use of a very talented staff. And they have been absolutely wonderful in all the years I've been on the council. Has so much am indebted to them for any success that I've had.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. That completes our agenda by state law, unless someone has something else we can talk about. Meeting adjourned.